Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillah Allah Ta'ala, everybody in the best state of iman and good health, and focusing on a deen and improvement. You know, alhamdulillah. Hopefully some people is up for Tahajjud or Qiyam al-Layl. I just wanted to chop it up with y'all for a split second, man, before I start getting it in. But a brother said something that was real, that was real serious in one of my comments. Basically where he was referring to Prophet Luke and his wife, but like he was saying how basically like that's kind of where we at as a community, if I understood him correctly. Not like as a ummah, like you might be a righteous person and then there's people with you and you trying to save them, but all you have to do is move forward, but they keep looking back, so they're going to suffer the same fate of the people, like the Quran say. I know a lot of biblical people in Christianity and stuff like to say, his wife was turned into a pillar of salt. So we're going to use that turned into a pillar of salt analogy. So like, you can be in some communities, man, and you have to, take a look and see things, man, and start to see, sometimes, man, the people you trying to help gonna get turned into pillars of salt. They're gonna get turned into pillars of salt. So what I wanted to do is touch the actual Quran ayat, because I was going to do a talk about how we underestimate shaytan. And because I've been having certain conversations with people in this community here. I had some people, at my home with me, these past few days, and conversating with them, conversating with some people over the phone, but everybody's in this community, and I'm seeing a common theme, man. Shaytan is underestimated. Shaytan is underestimated. So I was going to do a talk with that, but alhamdulillah, what the brother said about Luke and his wife ties right into the same theme of underestimating shaytan. See, you have brothers, man, and this is why I feel sorry for sometimes certain brothers, and I see it in different communities. Some brothers, without realizing it, they volunteer themselves to be soldiers for other people. And I want to use these words without being offensive, but they put themselves in a position to become other people, personal pit bulls, but they don't realize that's what's happening. So like, you can have a situation and brothers will come in and be like, okay, people in the community, they this, that. When you come in here, don't worry, I'm gonna be your rah 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 guy. Now me, I don't need a rah 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 guy. I'm not even gonna put somebody in the situation to be a rah 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 person for me. But when you don't understand shaytan, and you don't understand what you signing yourself up for, people who be up to no good and people that mean you no good will know that you have that type of characteristics, and they might call you to situations where they up to no good for the purposes of being what? They rah 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 guy. But some people sign themselves up for that, not realizing it. And then these individuals start to view you as their personal little pit bull if things start to shake. And you might not look at it that way because you really blind in the community. But it's wanting to have such an impact in the community. But you surrounding yourself with the wrong people in the wrong situations. So, and see, a brother said something key to me, that they would never turn their back on particular people within a situation. And you know, I realized at that moment, man, sometimes people need to realize, brother, you may not even have a back to turn. As in saying, you trying to rock out for some people that don't rock out with you. You understand what I'm saying? Like, sometimes when you trying to advise a brother and open their eyes, you can sit down and say things like, something simple as like, okay, a brother say, okay, you need a ride to work tomorrow, I'm gonna let you use my car, right? Come by around 5 o'clock and I'm gonna give you the keys to my car and you can use my car to get to work tomorrow. Now, I could sit down and say, that brother not gonna give you them keys to that car. He's lying to you. Oh, no, man, you know, I see things a little different than you, you know, this and that. All right, cool. Then they go at 5 o'clock. Brother end up in some conversation and then say, well, I tell you what, come around 7 o'clock. Still doesn't come back at 7 o'clock. Still don't give him the keys to the car. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Still not giving him the keys to the car. So then I might sit down and say, did he ever give you the keys to the car? They may process it as, I'm trying to make them see some negativity. No, but what I'm trying to point out is, don't you see that they keep lying to you? You keep expecting a liar to be truthful. And because of your because of your presence, and because you presenting yourself as a loyal, you presenting yourself in a room full of people as a loyal rah guy. When you get used for that, you need to be aware of that because you signed up for it without realizing it. I want you to see, if a person keeps lying to you, and then if a person continuously keep putting you in situations that's unfavorable, I'm saying things to you, they lying to you. This is 10, 15 lies you've been told. Why do you still keep trying to see this as a truthful person? And then the next day comes, now you ain't got no ride to work. Because the same people who promised you keys never gave them to you, when I'm the individual who said they lying to you, bro. They not going to give you no keys. Oh, well, I never turn my back on. I'm not trying to tell you to turn your back on them. I'm trying to tell you to come up with something more favorable so you can get to work. They not going to help you. You know when they going to, and when I'm saying, like when an individual saying I'm not going to turn my back on it, you don't have a back to turn on them. You know when the situation is going to come when your services is going to be appreciated, when they need a rah person. You know what I'm saying? You was brought around to be a rah 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 person. You see what I'm saying? So, and this is because what I'm gonna get to the point that I'm gonna use these Quran ayats. Sometimes, man, people can't recognize shaytan. And another thing with us is, this is what a lot of people have issues, man, with the qadr of Allah that I've been talking to. So, not only just these particular individuals, sometimes, man, when you go to look for what you want Allah to show you, you need to be prepared for what you're going to see. Because we view, okay, Allah is beautiful, Allah is this, and so every single situation is going to be beautiful because I'm trying to see the beauty of Allah in it. You have to know Allah a little bit better than that, because Allah is also a punisher. Allah is also a destroyer. And if Allah chooses to punish something, nobody can change that punishment but Allah. If Allah chooses to destroy something, nobody can stop that punishment, that destruction but Allah. And even like Allah says in the Quran, if Allah chooses to misguide somebody or some people, nobody can guide them but Allah. If Allah chooses to lead them astray or let them go astray out of the choices that they made, like it say, if Allah allow them to go astray and because of their decisions and their choices, and leave them on that path they chosen until it lands them in the hellfire where He can burn them, where Allah can burn them, nobody could do nothing about it but Allah. So when you understand these type of things about Allah, when you see some situations where people is being, the punishment of Allah is up on them clearly, it ain't nothing you can do about it. It ain't nothing you could do about it. You have to accept that. You can't fix it. There's nothing you can do about it. And then I'm going to show you, and then on the flip side of that, understanding that, then you have to look at shaytan. And I'm going to go into these Quran ayats. Now look at this right here. And to show you, you got to be able to see the wickedness of shaytan. Just like in one of my other videos, how I spoke about how shaytan whispered into the people to even start to build statues. Then it was good people, they were saints. So then they built statues, and then later generations come see those statues, and then they started worshiping them. Then people started taking them statues and some of their favorite images and owls and different birds and dogs, and making little statues, and they started worshiping them. This is my God. You see what I'm saying? They started making idols, but you can see where it came from. So just like with the story of Luke, I'm gonna show and put it all this finna tying together to today's time to just show the simple whisper from shaytan. But shaytan said this is what he gonna do in the Quran. So look at this right here. We're gonna go to the Surah An-Nisa, and we're gonna tie all this together all the way up to today's time, just to show you the wickedness of shaytan. So you need to be able to see shaytan so that you can protect yourself, and then see what's going on with Allah Azza wa Jal, because Allah Azza wa Jal already given us the remedies. We just not putting them into perspective and applying them, because sometimes we underestimate shaytan and overestimate ourselves. You see what I'm saying? And then we'll start seeing what we want to see, but it be false. And I'm finna show you exactly why. So right here in Surah An-Nisa, and I'm gonna use my phone, man, because it's a little dark in here, and I don't want to bust out the books. So in Surah An-Nisa, Surah 4, Ayat 120, look what shaytan says. Shaytan says, hold on, let me go up to 119. My apologies. 119. Let me start with 119. Right? Shaytan says, verily, I will certainly mislead them and delude them, and will arouse in them false desires. Now, desires is a broad term because you have sexual desires. Some people desire power. Some people desire attention. Some people desire money. Some people desire material wealth. You know, not just money, but the golds, the jewelries, the cars, the trinkets all in the house, the decorations, the decor. Some people have a desire for all of those type of things. So what Shaytan is saying, I will arouse in these people false desires, empty hopes. They finna desire a whole bunch of foolishness. Some people might desire for a member of the opposite sex can be so strong that they'll do anything to get that person. And then once they have sex and once the sex is over, they might be like, man, what was I doing? You know what I'm saying? Because Shaytan done aroused the false desire in them. And sometimes they might be married. Sometimes it might be a sister, because Shaytan done aroused something in her and a brother. A sister might sleep with her sister boyfriend. A married brother might sleep with his wife's sister. Off of some false desires that Shaytan aroused in them, and then as soon as they start having sex, they be like, this kind of whack. Because the desire was so strong in them. Some people might, Shaytan might arouse somebody to want money so bad or something, and then they run up in somebody's house trying to rob them and get killed in the robbery. See, you got to know Shaytan, man. You got to know Shaytan. And some people may have such a desire. One of the biggest tricks of Shaytan is that he will make you feel like you're the savior. I can fix all of this. But you might need to fix you. How are you going to fix everything and you a broken person? Broken people generally break people. Sometimes people waste time that they should spend on themselves trying to fix people that don't want to be fixed, because they need them to be fixed so that they can fix themselves or feel good about themselves. See, this is how Shaytan can arouse false desires in a person and cause you to waste time. That's one of the other biggest tricks of Shaytan, is to cause people to waste time. That's why, like the other Quran ayah that I was talking about being a spendthrift, where you become wasteful, where you wasting time, where you wasting money. And that's why I say that these individuals is the brothers. Shaytan is their brother. You see what I'm saying? Shaytan is their brother. Shaytan can cause you to waste time, and you can waste time with permissible things, because you might do some things that's allowed, but you're doing it to show off. You're doing it to please people as opposed to Allah Azza wa Jal, and then that's time that you wasting. So look, let me show you where it goes on, right? Then Shaytan says, I will arouse in them false desires, and certainly I will order them to slit the ears of cattle. So even bring it up to modern times, right now you will see sometimes where they have cattle ranches, and they'll start to put they'll slit their ear to put like a tag on them, right? This is forms of mutilation. But just to bring certain things up to modern times, right? I will order them to slit the ears of cattle, and indeed I will order them to change the nature created by Allah. So this is gonna take us up to where we talking about the situation with Luke and his wife. I will order them. He's gonna whisper into the ears of mankind to change the nature created by Allah. So you could take this ayat right now and you could see mankind is trying to change everything. They trying to create stuff to block out the sun, to dim the sunlight out. They trying to create false clouds to determine when it rains or snow. They messing with the plants. They messing with the animals, trying to create different type of meats and lab grown meats, and created like they try to create a bigger, better salmon, and then they started eating up all the real salmon and all this stuff. So now they got to farm raise them. They tampering with everything, with all this GMOs, but also the nature that Allah created within man and women. Right now, you could go look on the video, and this is a real story. A man in Japan spent all this money to be his body. He done had all these surgeries so that he could be transformed into a Cocker Spaniel. You see these other people spending all these money, tattooing their whites and their eyeballs all black, getting they sharp, they teeth sharp into like fangs, and getting beads surgically implanted into their forehead, where they got a bunch of beads across their forehead so that they can look like lizards. Putting big holes in their ears, and trying to look like demons. I done seen people even get these balls and things and different stuff planted in their head to look like horns, just trying to look demonic, changing what Allah created, the nature Allah created. Women getting all these BBLs and all these breast implants, men doing the same thing, going and getting silicone and all this stuff put into their private parts, all the way to the point where these little surgeries, this is where some of this stuff started. Now you can see in today's time, women becoming men and men becoming women. And then they still trying to figure out ways to get these men to carry babies and have babies. That's from shaytan whispering for the people to change the very nature that Allah Azza wa Jal has created. Even the human nature, putting different things in food, where when men eat it, it create so much estrogen in their body to where they are men, but they feminine in nature. And then they may have been raised by their mother and didn't have no uncles. They got a bunch of aunties, fathers not around, no uncles. So they got a lot of little feminine energy when they get upset. And then the other reverses in women. It's stuff that's making their body, instead of them producing estrogen, their body starting to produce a lot of testosterone. And their voices is getting deeper. They getting hairy. They growing a bunch of hair all on their legs, and they real masculine in their mannerism from stuff that they doing with the food and drinks and stuff you put on your skin. But this comes from the shaytan. So you have to be able to recognize shaytan and keep yourself in check, because look at how the nature is being changed. Now I'm gonna go to some of this about the story with Luke to show you where some of this stuff started, all from the whisper of shaytan. But let me continue with this ayat, right? So it also says, so when shaytan tell Allah, I'm going to order them, I'm going to whisper them to mankind to change the very nature that Allah created. And Allah says, and whoever takes shaytan as a wali, a protector, a helper, a friend, right, instead of Allah, he surely will suffer a manifest loss. So some of us, man, get so aroused with false desires that may seem permissible Islamically. You may have a desire to come up with a big Islamic community that you can be the head of, but you don't have no Islamic knowledge. But the real desire is to be looked at as this leader of a community, when that's kind of lightweight falling into reality. Like, you can have some of these false desires, man, and you can waste a lot of time trying to do it. Where some people, man, like, alhamdulillah, man, let me let me get to the ayat part, right? So then it continues to say, shaytan only makes them false promises, right? And arousing them false desires. And shaytan promises are nothing but deceptions. It's nothing but delusion. So sometimes when you really look at certain situations, people really delusional. They can't even see the reality in it, even when you tell them the reality, because they're telling themselves something else, but what they're telling themselves is coming from the waswas of shaytan. That's that whisper of shaytan that they can't seem to escape, right? So look, it goes on to continue to ayat number 121, and it says, and the dwelling of such people is hell, and they will find no way of escape from it. So we really gotta take. So this right here is letting you know, these individuals who's falling into these things, this is what Allah is telling us. You gotta pay attention to yourself, because you might be a person. You might be a person of the hellfire. Because Allah is sitting up saying, man, these people who fall into these tricks of shaitan like this, and they don't come away from it, the dwelling of such people is hell. It is they who will have hell as their home, and they will find no escape from it. A'udhu billahi min dhalik. So then coming into, so this just showing shaitan, right? How he aroused false desires. Look at the for anybody who watched my other video where I was talking about how shaitan tricked people into worshiping idols. So like right now, where you have groups of Muslims, they doing the exact same thing, just without the statues, going to the graves of certain imams and stuff and making dua to them. This stuff is shirk, but it shows the origin of where that started. So let's look at the origins of this, to where right now, where shaitan saying he gonna change the whisper to mankind to change the very nature that Allah has created, all the way to the point right now, not only is males becoming women and women becoming males, you can be a little kid. You might not even be old enough to go get tattoos, but if your parents sign off, you can, and you got the money, you can be a boy and go become a female. You could be a female and go become a boy. 15, 16. You ain't even old enough to buy a pack of cigarettes. You ain't even old enough to buy tobacco products. But you can go change your whole entire gender. To the point where now people can't even be called exactly what they was born. Now it's, what do you identify as? That's changing the nature that Allah created. You know what I'm saying? And you can see the effect of it all over the world. Now, little girls go in the bathroom, it might be a grown man in there in a dress that ain't transitioned his private parts, but he got his private parts out because he's identifying as a female with his private parts out, and your daughter or something might be in the same bathroom with him at Walmart. Y'all don't see shaitan in that? So then look at this though. So when it comes to the story of Luke, we're going to go to Surah 11. And even like with the turning into a pillar of salt thing, right? Surah 11, we're going to start with ayat 77. Now look at this, man. Just look at shaytan and his wickedness and how all this became. So where it says, when our messengers, the angels, came to Luke, he was distressed, right? He was grieving. He was worried, like so worried that he's nervous and anxious. He don't know these angels, but when they come to him, he's so nervous, distressed, worried, anxious. He's extremely troubled and worried about their arrival because the angels were so handsome. They was in the form of handsome men, right? And Luke was worried for the dignity and the safety of these guests. This some of the talk reads, right? So Luke was grieving on account of them, and he felt himself feeling some type of way that he didn't want the people in the town to see them because they was heavily into sodomy. They was heavily into sodomy. So these angels done came to Prophet Luke's house. And when Luke see them as coming to his house as guests, he's scared, distressed, nervous. These some handsome men done came, knocked on my door. The town, the village idiots finna come to my house to rape this man, to rape these men. The village idiots on their way to my door, if they see them and word get out, they coming to rape these men at my house. This is in the Quran. So look what it says, right? So Luke actually go to the point where he say, this is a terrible day. This is a distressful day. This is how much panic he's in. But he don't know the angels. So then it goes on to say, and the men of his people, the village idiots is what I'm going to refer to them as, who were used to shameful deeds, sodomy, came rushing to his house. Right? They come rushing to the man's house to commit sodomy. He said, oh my people. Now look at Prophet Luke. He set up and say to the men, oh my people, please, here are my daughters. Here are my daughters. Don't come to my house to rape these men. Y'all can have my daughters. Peep out shaytan, right? Y'all can, here are my daughters. Y'all can marry them. It's more suitable for y'all to have my daughters. They are pure for you. So fear Allah and do not humiliate me by disrespecting my guests. Is there not even a single right-minded man among you? Like, man, is all of y'all stupid? Is it not one man amongst y'all with some good sense? Y'all run rush to my house to snatch some men up out of my house and rape them, and I got two beautiful daughters right here ready for marriage. Take my daughters, marry them, do what Allah commanded, fear Allah, right? So don't humiliate me, man. Don't embarrass me like this, right? So look what even when he even say to them, is there not a single right-minded man amongst you? Is all of y'all crazy? Not one man got enough sense. But look at this. They argued with Prophet Luke and said, you certainly know that we have no need for your daughters. You already know what we desire. Some Quran al Kareem. You already know what we here for. We ain't got no need for your daughters. We want the men you hiding in there. Crazy, right? Now look, let me show y'all some of the trickery, because some of the men that was coming to Islam, and wallahi, cause they had started a whole masjid, and I'm watching them on YouTube years ago, and what they were saying was, it's permissible for men to have sex with each other. The impermissibility was in raping, taking a man's behind. And they was trying to use this to prove it, saying the crime was taking it, but it's cool for you to give it up to another man. Same with women. So this is showing the shaytan, but what's that shaytan did in them? He aroused the false desire in them to where they made some haram halal and used Quran ayahs to do it. But look what it says though. So, Prophet Luke sitting up saying, I wish I had enough strength to fight all of y'all off. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, just even imagine that if you got a couple of people from out of town to come visit you, and then the village idiots, the town idiots, run up on your door, rushing. Hey man, what we doing them at, man? To, send them out, or we coming in? And then you have a couple of daughters, and you gonna sit up and say, hey man, y'all can have my daughters. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is better with Allah. Y'all can have my daughters. Marry them. So he said, I wish I was strong enough and powerful enough to basically fight y'all off and support my guests, the angels. So then the angels basically said, oh Luke, we are messengers from Allah. They will never reach you. So then he tells Luke to take his wife and the people, and y'all go and leave. So this is where, because his wife, and when you go to the top region, this is what I'm finna get into. His wife was the one who went and tipped the people off that the men was in there. You see what I'm saying? Because she was so down, Prophet Luke was a goody-goody. So she went and tipped the people off that the handsome men was in there, where they came and bomb rushed the house. So, but they let him know, you go out there and travel, but your wife is going to meet the same fate as everybody else. She got turned, and we're going to use that terminology that a lot of people is familiar with. She got turned into a pillar of salt. So sometimes you can want good for some of these people. It might be somebody you love. It might be your wife. It might be your husband. It might be your brother, your cousins, your sisters, your parents. But they just might get turned into a pillar of salt because they keep looking back to that foolishness. I gave the first Kubbar man in this newly masjid that was open on the first Friday before Ramadan. And I said in that Kubbar man, discussing what we was doing and sitting up saying, we can't turn back. You can't go back to these buildings where they doing the wrong things. You can't turn back. Now it's starting to be suggested, man, maybe it's better y'all just go back to them buildings and go back wrong. Go back to the haram. Like individuals not absorbing what's being said to them, because false desires and different things that's being aroused in individuals. You want to turn people back into a pillar of salt, and these people is having a manner with you because they willing to step up and be rah guys for people and show this loyalty, but y'all just have a whole, I ain't in need for a rah guy right now. You need to go figure out some other things, man. Can't you take a hint? So look, so now to discuss the thing with Prophet Luke and to show how they got into sodomy. So these cities, now this is what, check out shaytan. So they had basically little cities, and they would be at war with people and have little civil wars. So they didn't want anybody coming into their city. They didn't want people coming and doing business in their city, traveling through their city. If they didn't have a family member in this city, they wasn't welcome. So to keep the people out of their city, they would catch men that was travelers. This is what comes along with this Quran ayat, what Allah is revealing. This is how all of it started. Go get into the tafsirs and the hadiths and stuff, and you can see what goes on with this story. So what the men, the village idiots, would do when they would catch these travelers, they would keep them out in the public, and they would start like a little bonfire, and they would drink, and they would tie these men up. And they keep, so one of them decided to send a message for these people to stop coming to our town. Let's rape them. So this is the first act of man on man action. And it started from the whisper of shaytan. One of the village idiots sitting up drunk while they beating these men. And one of these village idiots just said, you know what, I got a good idea. How about we rape them? So they would keep some of these men and stuff on these tied up and all this, but they got them outside in front of everybody. They got little fires burning at night. They drinking whatever stuff that make them feel good. You know, I don't know if they had like, you know, different things, because, you know, it said they had little stuff they crushed up, put up their nose, and different things they smoked, you know, not like cocaine, like tree barks and different things, you know. But anyway, not to really get into that, they would be intoxicated, and one of them, shaytan whispered into one of them, let's start raping them. So then they started raping them, and then everybody would join in on the rape. So if it was 20 men out there and they caught 3 dudes, all 20 men raped all 3 dudes. So then when they started to rape the 3 dudes, and then this is happening every time they catch people. Every time men come to the city, this is what they doing to them, and they doing it in front of the whole town. The whole town knows about it. So once they started raping these men, they started liking it. So then perhaps a couple of these men that they raped possibly sparked something in one of them where they liked it. So now another thought is aroused in one of them. Hey, some of them kind of liked it. Let's start doing it to each other. So now they start doing it to each other. Now they liking it. They like giving it and taking it now. So now this is all the village idiots in the whole city. To the point where now that they having sex with each other so much, they don't even have no need for their women unless they got kids with them. The only need they have for women, cook me something to eat, clean my clothes, and raise my kids. I ain't finna have no sex with you. I'm finna go out here with the rest of the village idiots, and we finna get drunk and go find some travelers. And we don't find no travelers, we finna have a male orgy. But this came from the whisper of shaytan. And this is how homosexuality came into play amongst mankind. That's where it all started. Now it done reached all these years later to the point that look at how people change in the nature that Allah created and actually becoming women. And women becoming men. Just so that they could be with the exact same sex. I'm a woman that likes women. That likes women that doesn't like men, But I'm finna become a man to get women that like women. You could have just stayed a woman to keep messing with the woman. Men, I'm a man that like men, but I'm gonna become a woman so that I can be with men that don't like women. But the trickery is, excuse me for 1 second, man, that's alarm. Time for me to start praying. So this is where all of this. So like Allah give us all the jewels. This is where homosexuality started from, and it started from shaytan arousing some false desires into some people. And then they started raping men. So then they started liking the sex with the men. And then something made them want to go from giving it to taking it. Once they went from giving it to taking it, they liked taking it. All the way to the point where they even come into a prophet's house, rush into the door. And man, where the men at? Where the men had it? Where them, your wife done already tipped us off, man. Some men in there, man. Where they at, man? You send them out, or we coming in. And the prophet says, here, man, take my daughters, marry them. And they say, hey, man, we ain't got no need for them. You know what we desire. Who aroused that desire in them? Shaytan. And this is some of the steps towards getting mankind to change the very nature that Allah created. Allah didn't create, our nature ain't even built for that. You see what I'm saying? We was designed to be with women, and women was designed to be with men. And then when you get into, and I ain't gonna say a conspiracy theory, but when I was younger, and this is one thing I will get a Nation of Islam credit for, they gonna be up on government things and, you know, how to be African American in a society that hates African American, how to be a civilized and keep yourself out of that system of punishment that they created. The prisons, the probations, that revolving door. One thing that they used to promote these books like the New World Order and things about population control. And they, like, you know, I used to read the Final Calls, and this stuff used to be in the Final Calls. And it was saying that one of the new forms of population control was going to be homosexuality. Because women can't get women pregnant, and men can't get men pregnant. So if they get enough of the creation, enough of mankind to start falling into same sex, no more people will be born. Because they had this big fear of, if we keep producing people, we're going to run out of water. We're going to run out of plants to eat. You know, we're going to run out of tomatoes. We're going to run out of cows and chickens. You know, eventually it's going to be so much people on earth and animals on earth that it's going to adjust the oxygen intake, and it ain't even going to be enough air for everybody to breathe. So they need all this population control. We need diseases and COVID to come through and kill 2 million people. We need AIDS to come through and kill 2 million people. We need to keep the population down, the population of Earth down to 2 billion, and all these weird theories. But one of the things that they talked about was how homosexuality was going to be the new population control, because men can't get men pregnant and women can't get women pregnant. And it was also because of the filth and that comes along with it. New diseases and different things will be bred where they could medicate people. Now they could sell medications, but now look at it now, how far. But this was years ago. I was reading this stuff as a kid in the 90s, because they was talking about how the agenda was going to start being pushed in the year 2000. Year 2000 was the beginning of the New World Order agenda, and they was talking about how, this real talk in the books, it was talking about how homosexuality, and it was really referring specifically to the black community. They were saying that homosexuality was going to be brought out of the prison into the black community. That the men in prison that was engaging in homosexuality, they was going to bring it to the streets. They was going to bring it to the streets. And they done brought it to the streets. And that's why, like right now, you look and all this, and you know, it's cool for them to not have to sit in the closet and be that way. But this was part of this is what they had in a part of the agenda. But just look at where it started. And that's the point of this, man. Don't overestimate yourself and underestimate shaytan. You got to know your level. And then you got to focus on, like the Quran ayah says, save yourself, protect yourself, and then your family from a fire. You got to start with yourself. A broken person can't fix people like that. You can't. You got to get yourself together Islamically before, not saying that other people can't help other people and saying that people can't come and grow and build together, but sometimes, man, you dealing with people, man, that's so corrupted in nature. They so filthy, man. They so corrupted. Their heart so corrupted and diseased. It really ain't too much you could do for them, and they be Muslims. And you know, like I could sit down and say, I can go down a whole line of individuals that came into this community and came to me and looked at me as, man, me and you together, man, we could fix all this. Your brains and my bronze, we can get out here, man, get a building and get houses and bring all these people and all this and that. And I look at every last one of them and say, these people don't want that. They don't want it. Oh, man, you can't give up on them, man. Allah put it in me that I'm going to be the savior of this community. Allah putting it in me. Like, you can't even save you. That's shaytan arousing a false desire in you. Look at this, man. Unfortunately, man, these cats want to sell dope, fornicate, get drunk. You know what I'm saying? It's just like anytime, man, some Muslims come together and put a whole plan together to open up a masjid so that they can launder drug money. Why would Allah bless them to have a masjid? They don't deserve a masjid if you want to open up a masjid for the purposes of crime. And then opening up a salon where you're doing weave and stuff. All the upstairs of the masjid, they're going to be doing weaves and selling clothes with crosses and images and all this stuff on it to the kuffar. And then taking their dope money and buying cars and selling the cars in the parking lot of the masjid so they can clean up their dope money. And what do you think you're going to build with them? And then other individuals trying to come together to get masjids so they could go around with young people and take young people and parade them around and ask people for donations that they stealing, cloaked under a masjid. What do you think you're gonna do with them, bruh? What do you think you're gonna do with them? That's some shaytan done aroused in them that you can't change. And see, that's the problem, man. Sometimes Muslims think they can fix shaytan, man. That's evil. That's evil doing. And then these people got the people mind so corrupted that if you say something about it to the people who doing it, and then tell the people to stay away from the people before you fall into it, oh man, that's backbiting. Man, I ain't backbiting. First and foremost, these is open sinners. These open mujrimuns. What we supposed to do? Let them open up a masjid to sell dope out of? Come on, man. Oh, well, I don't have no problem with all this and that. Man, quit sounding like a hypocrite, man. This masjid, yeah, they don't want no black people in it. I don't have a problem with that. I'm perfectly fine with it. I still want to go. But why do you have a problem with somebody sitting up saying, hey man, they made it clear. They said to your face, you're not welcome there. Oh no, I got a problem with you saying that. I don't got a problem with them mistreating us because we black. But it bothers me for you to tell another black person, man, we could get our own stuff. Because you parading people around begging for money. Trying to figure out how to write grants off the backs of Muslim kids just to benefit off of and lead them. And see, in Islam, when you don't have a father, you're an orphan. You see what I'm saying? You can have your mother. When you don't have a father, you're an orphan. So what do the Quran say about using orphans to get money or taking from what they got? Man, this stuff comes from shaytan, man. What do you think you're going to be able to do for them? And then you never know how far it's going to go. Just look at all these years ago with Prophet Luke. All because shaytan aroused in a person's mind. How about we just rape them? And then that rape to humiliate the people in front of the whole city so they'll know not to come to our city. And then it also created these wars, these territories. So right now, even from that type of insider type of thing, right now you can have people who live in this project. They'll fight and shoot people from the next project over. Don't come to our project. Don't come to our city. You got to check in to come to our city. This stuff started. Shaytan aroused this mentality into these people. You got to check in when you come to our city. We're going to rob you. We'll hurt you. We might murder you. Exactly like the people of Luke. Don't come to our city. You got to check in. You got to have a family member. And even depending on how you look, like with Prophet Luke, these men was handsome. We gonna show up at the door if we find out you there. Send them out, or we coming in. And look at how far this. Look how it done changed. We live out south. You from out west? We don't like cats from out west. Don't come out south. We gonna put hands on you. Look at where this stuff started. Look at where the homosexuality started. So like right now, if you start to open a door and participate in these Muslims trying to use Islam to prosper, eventually it might turn into prosperity preaching. Just like what happened with Christianity. And I'm sitting up saying this because I know the hadiths where the Rasul said, we gonna follow them handspan by handspan. To the point that if they go in a hole of a lizard, we gonna go into a hole of a lizard. It might come a day when you hear imams on a masjid preaching prosperity. It ain't far-fetched. You don't know when you helping and aiding them in these corruptions, thinking that you can fix it, or thinking I'm gonna show my loyalty and they gonna appreciate it. No, they might appreciate it when the day comes that they actually need your loyalty. Right now, you just a pest. You know what I'm saying? Right now, you know you a pawn. I need you to bring some more people around into this gathering so that I can figure out how to keep some money flowing. And I need you to sit there and be my personal pit bull if somebody get mouthy. But until then, skedaddle. Skedaddle. You know what I'm saying? Don't let shaytan trick y'all, man. And like I say, you open up the door for that, and this is what it turned into. You never know what it's going to look like 50 years from now. But when you in that, if you be in a grave 50 years from now, and these things that accumulate, you can be getting punished in your graves for that. Because, you know, just like what the people, just like for instance, was shaytan aroused in the individual to murder his own brother, to do the first murder. Every single murder that happened after that first person who did that murder, he get a piece of that. The same in the first person who committed that, the first person who came up with that thought, hey, how about we just rape him? And then it turned into, they kind of act like they liked it. How about I take some of it? The first person who put their first private part into that first person, they get a piece of that sin for everybody on this earth who did it after that. And then the one who flipped and said, hey, let me try it out. Y'all do me. And then the rest of the people who did, they get a part of that sin. So you open up the door for certain things, involving yourself in certain things, you're going to get a piece of that. So it's better to be on the end of teaching good and having people being on the good end of things than to be on the wrong end. But alhamdulillah, man, I got Fajr getting ready to come in real soon. So I got to at least go in and give me a few rak'ahs in, man, for tahajjud, man. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.